Yes, yeehaw! It is Thursday. It is 9. So of course, UK Cowboys time. How are we doing, guys-os?
Yeah, doing good. Was out watching some uni ball last night, so
Mm.
ready to go. Um, Certainly was more of a ground attack than a passing game, but yeah, it was a good night anyway. So
Like an
Yeah, not
Army Navy game.
yeah,
yeah, I'm not bad. Not used to being up at this time though. I feel like a really old man. I've been going to bed at like 8 o'clock every night for the last like 2 weeks. Apart from having out when I went with Brian, so it's like, yeah, I might end up falling asleep on you guys. So you like keep screaming and waking me up.
Yeah, you're on. You double headline this week, Jay. You're on Tuesday, now you're on Thursday. We don't see you for weeks, and then all of a sudden here you are. Look.
I know. It's yeah. I just like I said when I phoned you this morning, like it was like I like to brighten your day sometime. Maybe it could ruin the night, but I mean it's some effort in some way.
yeah. So it is another draft show. So we may be joined by Paul. We are waiting to see if he arises from his slumber. Hopefully he will and he'll join us. We'll wait and see. But yes, we're here to talk about a few of the things that have cropped up in the news this week, and we'll take a look at it and how it affects the draft. The first one I wanted to talk to you guys about is we'll talk about the running back position, right? Because it's cropping up quite a lot this week for a number of reasons. So first of all, how important was the Rico Dowdle signing? We had that, and we kind of spoke about it last week, but we'll talk about it more in depth because of the other news that has happened. How do you guys feel about that, and how do you think it changes the philosophy, if it does at all, in drafting running back in this year's draft?
well, I think it certainly gives you some semblance of understanding about what you have in the backfield at the moment. Obviously with Tony Pollard gone, you were looking at Juice Vaughn, Hunter Lipke, Malik Davis, and now you've brought Rico Dowdle back. It at least gives you some semblance of normality. By all means, I don't think he's suddenly going to be the bell cow running back, but you've at least got somebody that is a proven performer, if nothing else.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it gives you that familiarity. Put me teeth in. It gives you that sense of familiar. I can't even say it. From somebody familiar with the playbook. God, my talking tonight is rubbish. I told you I have to say it asleep. But yeah, someone who knows the playbook, somebody who knows the team. But I don't think it takes away the fact that we need an out-and-out RB1. Clearly, with what was who was available in the draft in the free agency, I think we missed a trick there. So I think it really just, unless the Cowboys really shock us and go out and trade for somebody, I think they're going to try and address that somewhere in the draft. But as I said to you, and I think we had a bit of a conversation back in the last week, I think, wasn't it, Mike, about running backs. And no disrespect to the guys in this draft, I don't think anybody's a day one running back one. I think it's going to take them a year or so, whoever they're taking this draft. Even though Brooks from Texas is probably the top guy, and obviously with me alone being UT fans, we know what he can bring to the table, but I think he's going to need a year. And again, the kid from Michigan, I think he's going to need a year as well if they go that route early on. But we shall see. But I'm not holding out any hopes of a trade anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brooks might have been a viable option as your only running back that would go first round if he didn't have this injury that's going to put him out until middle of the season before he even talks about starting training properly. So that's a bit of a downer. There isn't a blue chip running back this year.
Sure.
Or certainly not a day one guy as well. But I'm beginning to get worried about all the people that we have lost now. we've been saying for weeks that Jonathan Hankins was a big piece to re-sign, and we haven't done that. He's gone off to join Aidan Durdy in Seattle. So you're looking at more and more pieces where we're not even able to do what we previously do, where you put band-aids over positions, and you've at least got somebody who can start. At the moment, it's a bit scary what we're looking at. If the season was tomorrow, what you would be fielding, and we don't have a lot of draft capital this year. So, are we going to be trading? Are we going to be trading down 4 picks every round so that you end up picking up 12 or 13 extra picks? So that you can then potentially draft a lot of depth.
Yeah, so I think we've figured as well. I know we touched on it with Brian the other night. I know we've had various conversations in the admin group. I say I'm with you on it. I'm worried because although, no disrespect to the guys we lost, like they weren't going to light up the world, but a lot of them were stars, and they've gone to rivals, and those rivals in the NFC East, especially, they've improved on what they had last year. We've weakened, and I said it. You could be leaned towards to say that we're actually the third strongest team in the NFC East as things stand. I know that probably sounds like an outcry of oh my god and panic, but with what we've done in free agency, it would be hard to say that we are still the top team in the East, because we are definitely not, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, we'll get back to what you just said there, because it's one of my little questions towards the end of the show. I'm throwing it home. But hello, Mr. Paul. How are we?
Not too bad, not too bad. How we doing, gentlemen? I just want to kind of add into what you guys were just saying there. So, see, like, so in terms of losing players to our rivals, like Washington, for example, I'm not particular.
They're our rivals.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the history of Washington when it comes to free agency, they've not had the best track record. They've always overcompensated for players. Always, and it's never really worked out. You're talking about going back all the years ago. Is it Hargrave? Played for the Patriots.
Hargrave, yeah.
Like so,
Hargrave.
He the most expensive defensive tackle of all time, like 7 years, 100 million or something like that. So, that's going way back. Well, not way back, but a good couple of number of years ago. But when you look at cornerbacks, wide receivers, etc., they've not had the best record. And from what they paid Dorrance Armstrong, I'm like, don't get me wrong, I love Dorrance Armstrong, but is he going to be that same player going into a different scheme, different defensive coordinator, different coaches, all those things play into action. So even though it's Dan Quinn calling the shots, but there is that.
Yeah, I mean, you can have all the talent in the world. I mean, you to take it back even further, the Redskins back in the 70s when they had George Allen as coach, he was very much almost of the opinion of the LA Rams, where F them picks. He would bring in veteran players. Not that you spent a lot of money because there wasn't free agency or anything like that, but he would trade all of his picks for veteran players, thinking that that was the way to beat Dallas, was have guys who were well seasoned and everything like that. Cowboys still won 2/3 of the games against the Redskins in the 70s. Sure, they went to a couple of Super Bowls, all that sort of stuff. Go back to when Daniel Snyder took over, and as you say, they went out, they spent almost the entirety of their salary cap space that year, brought in a whole load of players. They still went 5-11. So
not to mention as well, Lauren, like the amount that they spent on draft capital on one player, like RG3, for example. Like like it's just funny. It's not even just Washington. It's the Eagles as well. Like they've had a history.
Giants
as well.
have done it too.
Like, don't get me wrong, we've all had it. Even us. We've you could say Brandon Carr's one of them, I guess. But no disrespect to him, but
No.
But I would say the Eagles in Washington are definitely more notorious because I was just watching like top free agent busts, like the top 20, and the majority is Raiders, Washington, and Philly. Those are the top 3 teams that have actually screwed up the most in terms of free agency, in terms of paying these players top high end when they shouldn't be paying these players top high end. And yeah, so
and that's what can really kill you too.
Yeah, and I just thought I brought it's not normally me, but I thought I brought a positive outcome to this deep scenario. Yeah, we're very inactive. Yeah, it's really freaking annoying. I feel like me and Lauren should actually come out of retirement and start playing football again and sign for the Cowboys. How things are going right now, but we are where we are right now, and if there's anything to be said, recently under Will McClay, any player that we do bring under free agency has tended to kind of slightly worked out. I would say about 75%. Maybe the one player that I really disliked, like, and you know who I'm talking about. But but yeah, it's I would say we do have more, like, we do more due diligence when it comes to free agency. Yeah, again, it is frustrating as hell, but we just need to kind of ride with it and see what happens. And like you're saying, Lauren, we don't have much draft capital. We do have a lot of positions we need to fill up. So I think that is likely going to be a likely outcome of us trading back. First round possibly, third round possibly. I don't see us do. I think we will want to kind of keep on hold of that second round as much as possible. But who knows?
It's just more frustrating with the comments that the front office made of we're all in, and it's like clearly their version of all in is different to what we assumed. And in terms of, I mean, like if it's all in, then you assume the Cowboys are going to go out and spend big in free agency. I know we've got salary cap issues, but if you're going to come out and say we're all in, then you've got to get that in order weeks, if not months, before free agency opens.
Yeah.
But then, like, say, and like, especially like say, I know we talked about it quite a bit, Paul, on, didn't we, over the season, with how good that front four was. You could argue that at times it was probably the best front four in the league, and
yeah, it was definitely top 5.
Like a Fowler or an Armstrong, you would assume if we're going all in, the Cowboys would have try to bring them kind of guys back because they were a disruptive group of players. So it's like,
wait, sorry, Jay, I need to interrupt you here. The fact is, we're getting Eagles fans on the show just shows that they want to pay more attention to us than their own freaking team. Congratulations!
Like they say, Paul, Dallas forever.
Dallas forever, Philly for never. Rent free, and exactly.
I mean, it's all good, valid points. I've got a little question for you, or the topic of the second, the Cowboys' second pick. We'll talk about it in a little moment. I want to talk though, which we'll get onto the subject of now, is Tyron Smith. He's gone. He signed with the Jets. That's painful. Does Tyron Smith move in? Change.
You talking about Tyler Smith moving?
No, Tyron Smith moving on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about Tyler Smith moving, maybe for another show.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
You're all right, love. You're all right. So, what I'm on about is Tyron Smith has moved on. He's gone to the Jets. For you guys, did that move change how quickly or how early the Cowboys needed to draft an offensive lineman, or did the move not change anything at all? Did it not move the needle?
For me, no. For me, like, I think the first round draft pick is still going to be an offensive lineman. I think it's just obviously more obvious now, like more than anything. Because say we were to bring back Tyron, how much of it is he going to be a guarantee to be a full on season? Like, ideally, what I would have liked to have done was, if this would have been a dream scenario, is you would still have Tyron Smith there as your left tackle and kind of level up our first round draft pick and get him like up to standard, like show him the ropes, etc. But we're now in this situation now where, like, whoever we're going to draft, and it's likely going to be a left tackle, might even be center, who knows? But either way, they're going to be getting thrown into the wolves straight off the bat, essentially.
Yep.
And they're likely, the expectation of them is like they need to get the ground on the ground running, essentially. So it's a lot more urgency, which is not ideal, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think as well for me, and again, liking it back to the Hankins move as well, is that you're not having the luxury of best player available. There is no way, if a CD Lamb was in this draft and he was dropping to us, there is no way would you even consider that when you need an offensive lineman, you need at least more depth on the defensive line as well, if not a starter, if you're not convinced that Mazzy Smith is the guy. Who knows what Mike Zimmer's thinking about that, but you can't just go best player available. We are going to have to take needs, and that is almost going back to the structure that we were doing in the early 2000s when this team was falling apart, and we needed a quarterback. We took Quincy Carter because we didn't have a first round pick. We took Quincy Carter in the second round. We took the years where we took like Lattimore, Mario Edwards, that sort of thing as well. And
yeah.
Are you trying to start like reinvigorating the PTSD? Like PTSD is kicking back in.
I was just going to say there, Jamie, is like, I think, Mike, I think we're all basically stressing out. We're showing that already. We're bald besides Jamie. Jamie seems to less stressed here.
But to be fair, mate, it's thinning, and I keep like putting it up to hide the fact
that you've got hair.
Yeah. He's a Leeds United fan as well. You'd think he'd have even less than all of us, but
clearly was bad in the previous life. But I think in terms of the Tyron Smith deal with the Jets, I think that also shows their kind of not scaredness is not the right word of how often he may play, because I know a lot of his deals it's based on how much he plays. So it's like, well, we could get this really good offensive tackle that the Cowboys are going to let go, but we don't want to pay him as out because we might not. Like I say, you might get 6 games out of him. It just depends. It'll be so much. It'll be sod's law. We've let him go. He'll play full season for the Jets here.
I just saw GXL's comment there. Yeah. From one shiver to another. Fair enough. But no, I totally agree with you, Jamie. Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, here's a good one, right? Our old friend, SBM, he's saying, do you think about the Cowboys trading the first round pick, dropping in the second? I think no. Jerry Jones likes the fifth year option too much, right?
Very much.
I mean, I get you guys to answer this question whether you believe he does, because it leads me to my next question. So first of all, do we think they trade at all out of the first round? I don't mind the idea of them trading down. Who they can trade down with is another question again. And I mean, we'll do a trade down conversation in another episode. But I mean, trading down and staying in the first works for me. But can you see them trading out of the first at all, guys?
Trading down out the first round, definitely not. Like you said, Mike, I think the 5th year option is definitely a Jerry holds that to a golden chalice, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, depending who's available, especially like if there's still a good number of offensive linemen there, then yeah, we could easily move back. I would say 4 or 5 spaces, pick up an extra couple of draft picks per for the capital, etc. But in terms of like moving it out the first round, I just don't see it happening. I think if someone is willing to trade out of the second round to move back into the first, that's steep. mean, what are we, like, pick 24? So you're talking about at least 8 spots. They're going to have to give us a lot in return to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't see many teams doing that. If I'm being perfectly honest, I would say maybe if there's one team, there's a player that they think they can get in within reach of that, then we can see a trade like 4 or 5 spots. But anything beyond 8, no. It's not going to be like what the Chicago Bears do or anything like that. It's not going to be anything crazy. But yeah.
I think, like I said, I think that 5th-year option makes it tough to trade out. But personally, with how deep the draft is in some positions, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Although staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning to watch the draft is a bit of an annoying goal anyway. But,
just to add more pain and suffering to us, Jamie. Like the fact that we're staying up, like, especially us fans here in the UK, we're staying up till, like you said, 4 o'clock in the morning. The Cowboys are on the clock. Next thing, there's been a trade. We move back. Now we have to wait even more. We're going to have to just be sure to prepare for it. But Lauren, I'm curious to know what you think, but I've got a question for you guys, but I'll let Lauren.
I mean, I think if you're talking about trading back to the second round or somebody trading up, then you're talking almost going back to, 2005 when Buffalo traded with us, and they gave up a first-round pick that the following year we were able to get DeMarcus Ware and Marcus Spears. You're talking about actually holding them to ransom on that, where realistically all we're looking for, if nothing else, to trade back 4 spots is probably picking up a 4th-round pick or a 3rd-round pick. So that you got 2 3rd-round picks, you can have a good day to pick up 3 players that are in the top 100 or whatever. And then you're giving yourself a round to relax and get ready, see what health chips fall for day 3 as well. But I think we do need to trade back. But I mean, as you guys have said, the 5th round, the 5th-year option is key for Jerry, because part of the reason why we're in the mess that we're in at the moment is that all of these contracts are all stacking up at the one time. Next year you've got so many players that are out of contract. The last couple of years we've had almost 19 free agents, or players that have been on our team leave as free or become free agents. And yes, even if you do like your guys, to try and sign 19 players again to bring them back is difficult. So
has anybody got, so just off the top of it, has anybody got 2 picks in this year's 2nd round?
That's a good question, Jamie. I'm not entirely too sure. I think there could be. Like
you say, because you could then maybe force their hand and say, right, we won't go for your seconds this year.
Well, Mike is. I don't know who's looking it up. I hear the keyboard.
I'm just having a quick.
I'm going to tankathon right now.
Well, while you're saying that, so the question I asked this a couple of weeks back is: we do have certain players on our roster we could use for trade value to even move up and get draft picks as well. So in theory, like I put this out a couple of weeks ago, it's like we could move up. Like, say, for example, because there's 2 teams, like, if we're really desperate for, and this is kind of going to, like, I'm kind of answering Chris Johns' question as well at the same time here. He's asking, anyway, we could go anywhere, like, who would we go for, essentially? But if it was me, and if there was a certain player, I love Powers Johnson from Oregon.
Yeah.
Like, I love him, JPJ. I like him a lot. But if you were to use your 1st round, like swap 1st rounds, but maybe use like a Trey Lance as your trade value, your 1st round quarterback, like that could be something as well. But you can also get later round picks as well. Like that could be, who knows. Like Jerry could, like we've seen Jerry done some crazy stuff before in the draft. It's times where we've traded up when we didn't really need to. Who knows? But I don't know what
I'm
you
just
guys
having a
think.
look. I'm just having a look at the second round now.
I've got three teams that have 2 second round picks. You've got Carolina, the Commanders, and you've got the Eagles
and Houston.
Wow.
And Houston as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if there's a best bet, then who was the first team did you mention there, Lauren?
Carolina. And Carolina. So Carolina have the first pick in the second round, the 39th pick as well. So that's pick 7. Washington have 36 and 40.
It wouldn't be Philadelphia. I think they're too far back.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Carolina...
And plus, doing an R trade with them.
Carolina and Washington would be tempting, wouldn't it? Just with how high both them picks are.
Yeah, but just to kind of answer Chris Jones's question here, like, well, the draft, if we'll draft first pick at 24, we should go anywhere. Left tackle, center, running back, pass rusher. If you ask me, we could go anywhere. I totally agree with you. If it's me, I would ideally go for a left tackle. But if a guy like Powers Johnson's there available, then that's an instant increase in your run blocking instantly. And and here's the thing with the left tackles, we might even double dip in the second round for it. We might. Who knows? That we just don't know yet. Because we could go center, we could go left tackle, it could be the other way about, or it could be off. For me, it would be offensive line, then it's a linebacker, then running back. Because I think getting a running back maybe in the second round maybe a wee bit too rich still. Say your guys like Trey Benson, for example. We could. I think we're in a good shot of getting him in the third round. We might even have to trade up to maybe even get him in the third. Who knows? But I'm just throwing so many different scenarios here, but that's the beautiful thing about it.
Can we throw another one in there, Paul, as well? Only because me and Mike were about this the other day. Throw a wide receiver in there. If Thomas Jones from LSU
you're right. 24, you're right.
Another player to stretch the field for Dak if the Cowboys are going to stick with him for the long term.
See, I think that's another one that we're totally underestimating now that Michael Gallup's with Gallup going to be going after June 1st and stuff like that. So I honestly don't know. Knowing Jerry, we wanted a defensive end one year and we ended up getting CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's slightly, that was a very different case there. Do you know what I mean?
It really was.
But I mean, look at it this way, right? Now the Cowboys, they're getting Trayvon Diggs back. They've got Deron Bland, and now they've just re-signed Jordan Lewis. Does that bring the cornerback position need in the draft down a little in terms of priority?
Yes, I would say. It's still. I would still like to somehow try to achieve Gilmore, but I'm pretty. We don't not even mention say Eric Scott Jr. Could this be the year for him to really step up to the plate? All of those type of things. We just don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you need to have 4 or 5 good corners anyway, minimum anyway. And at the moment, you're talking Eric Scott's your next man up. After those 3, you've still got McQuamu and Nashawn Wright as well. McQuamu, obviously, potentially safety. You don't know as well. Definitely. So, how are you going to play that room? I would still want to draft somebody, but or as Paul says, get Gilmore. Gilmore might, the Lions have just actually dropped Cameron Sutton after his domestic violence arrest the other day as well. So they've released him. So perhaps there's a market for Stephon Gilmore if nothing else. Hurry up and make contact. But I can see obviously Stephon Gilmore at the moment he's rehabilitating after the surgery. He's probably not ready to to try out for teams or whatever. So that only helps us at the moment. But at some point, it's going to become a need for somebody, and they will come calling for him. So
yeah.
I
mean, this kind of goes back to my original analysis about the front office and just free agency in general. We're not actually helping ourselves in terms of freeing up. We have the ability to do stuff to help maximize the capacity of the salary cap right now, like Dak's contract, CD Lamb, Micah Parsons. We can do that, but somehow we're just sitting there and let everything just fall apart right in front of us, and it's not helping us going into this year's draft. So there is that level of concern I do have going forward, like how we're going forward right now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I just kind of feel like it's not helping our situation right now, especially like Jamie mentioned, like with Jerry Jones saying, "Oh yeah, we're all in now." They're kind of backtracking their statement and stuff like that, saying that's not what we meant. It's like, well, why did you say it in the first place? It's like, if that's not what you meant, it's like, because when you tell that to your normal football fan, saying all in means you're doing whatever it takes to get the players and get the coaching
to win the big one,
to win it all.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it means. Like, and we're not doing that right now. We're not maximizing the capacity of the salary cap. We're not bringing any new additional players to help ease the draft needs going forward. And I mean, I can understand Stephen Jones's comment about there being very like not conservative, but it's like they're being very
frugal.
Yeah, like they're being deep thorough in terms of that, like their process and in terms of bringing players in. I can understand that. Like, you don't want to just bring a certain player in just because, oh yeah, they're just being let go. Like, obviously there's a lot of due diligence. Does this player fit into the mold of Mike Zimmer? Does this player fit into the style of Mike McCarthy? All those things need to be taken into consideration as well. Like, don't get me wrong, there is some players that would have been great, but they might have been busts if they were to join us. That's, who knows? But it is just frustrating, though. It really is.
Yeah, I think that's the trouble.
And it puts not only does it put a lot of pressure, the other way that you could look at all in, and I think this is what Jerry's almost saying, is that everybody's on a 1 year contract. Zimmer's on a 1 year contract. McCarthy's on a 1 year contract. At the moment, Dak Prescott's on a 1 year contract. Now, there is a little bit of good news in that they've obviously had discussions for this £5 million roster bonus and the addition of another 2 void years. That had to be given. It wasn't like a normal restructure where you just say, right, here's a check and we're reapportioning this. It's there had to be some agreement with Dak on this. So that means there is communication at least happening in some respects, and perhaps that opens the door for a deal closer towards the season, because at some point they still would be doing this. From that point of view, it's interesting, but it's putting a hell of a lot of pressure on Mike McCarthy, Zimmer, all of that, and then throw in, there's a couple of comments there about Diggs busy making babies. If you've got off-season struggles off the field as well, and there's the big thing going on with Dak as well. That's there's been news about him recently as well. All of this is just adding up to be an absolutely nightmarish off-season at the moment. So
yeah.
Well, I mean,
we haven't even got to the June month off where normally the bad stories do hit then,
Yeah. You get the feel for it. I mean, go on, say what you're going to say, Paul, because I got a really massive question that leads.
No. On you go, mate.
All right. So here's the question for you, based on just a few things that we're talking about, and maybe it's something we could talk about tomorrow on the World's Team, Paul, as well, right? Based on the facts that we're looking at, they restructured Dak. They haven't gone into any contract negotiations. Dak's come out and said they haven't spoken to me yet about my contract. We look at CD Lamb. We look at Micah Parsons. We look at all the moves that they've made in terms of losing players, which have gone to division rivals. They've added hardly anything in terms of players. The players they have re-signed, if you look at it, they're all one-year deals, as you just mentioned. Coaches are all on a one-year deal. Are we at the cusp, guys, of a rebuild?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I know, Jamie. You're nodding. You're not like tilting your head, like no, like shaking your head and that. But it kind of feels like that. I would like to be wrong in that matter, but we just don't know. It's kind of funny that you mentioned like a Dak there. Like I do remember what I was going to say there. Is basically when it comes to Dak's contract, we do remember we are dealing with Todd France here, his agent. Todd France, the sniveling little bugger that he is, who managed to get an extra 10 million a season for Dak in his previous contract when we had every opportunity to sign him at 35 million per year, but no, it had to be 45 million. And it's Jerry and Stephen's fault as well. They left it too late. And that's the problem as well. Yeah. We're leaving situations where we're leaving things way too late.
I agree in terms of, I think we probably should, because like I say, it's not heading the right way, but I just think, and a lot of people in the media have said it as well, however long the Cowboys are raking the money in left, right and centre from everywhere they can get it from, and they continue to be valued at the most richest sports team in the world, the Cowboys won't do a rebuild, because that essentially will lose them money, because they're obviously not in that mode of winning. And like I say, I think we probably should do. Like I say, there's quite a lot of holes on this team that we're going to struggle to fill. It's going to be backfilled with undrafted free agents that have struggled to get a contract. I just think then, and like I say, with the cap hell that we're in, why not blow it up now and get out of that cap? Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of, like I say, as much as like I say, everyone's got the comments of Dak, but like I say, if you don't renew it, let that contract run out, you've got a ton of money then that you've got free. You can then sign a CD Lamb to kind of build a team around him and work back. And like I say, like look at a few of the teams at the minute in the NFL. Like I know it's not gone the right way, but if you look at the Bears, that didn't go well from the quarterback position, but because of the fifth-year option and how cheap it is in terms of being able to get a franchise quarterback in the first round, you would think, why not blow it up and get someone in, and you've got 4 years of cheap contract and you can build the rest of the roster and then potentially give a fifth-year option and a second contract to another quarterback.
Well, Jamie, when it comes to first-round draft picks and quarterbacks, I do have my strong opinion about that. And it's a scary statistic. Not many first-round draft picks of quarterbacks really do set the standard. Like you're seeing like Josh Rosen, Zach Wilson, Trubisky, like all those, Blake Bortles, all those guys are like top end draft picks in the first round and did not live up to expectations. Carson Wentz, good example. Don't get me wrong, yeah. Jared Goff has kind of somewhat turned around his career a little bit around being in Detroit now, but
you still got to call it a failed first round pick though for the Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But when you really do consider the majority, and I'm talking about the mass majority of quarterbacks being picked in the first round, tend to struggle. And you always tend, and here's the thing, like it always seems to be the quarterbacks that are picked like from 15 to the end of the first round that tend to have a better success, like Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers. Those guys were later round in the first round, and they've had a much more better success.
I have a theory to that, mind.
Give it another way. 2016 draft when Dak came out. Dak and Jared Goff are the only two that are actual regular starters from that season.
Yeah.
Dak is the only one playing for the team that he was drafted by.
Original team. Yeah.
Yeah.
20,
So, I mean, but basically, go on,
2021 draft, as of this offseason,
Mhm.
the only two players that are still with the same team are Trevor Lawrence and Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And everybody else.
Everyone else has been
We've
traded.
had something
Yeah.
like 22. We've had something like 22 quarterbacks move position or move teams this offseason already. It's
And
been great,
and not to mention, you've got like Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota right now.
Yeah.
They're Winston just got traded. I think he just got traded, and
yeah, he's going to Cleveland, so he's
back up to
he's back up to Deshaun Watson and whoever else as well.
yeah.
So.
And you've got Mariota out there as well, but it just comes. Like I said, I just really, I do genuinely believe this. It's the draft is like the lottery. It's picking the right player for the right system, and especially when it comes to quarterbacks. But it does apply to all positions. But it really does feel like you're playing a game of deal or no deal. You might like a box, say your box is number 5, right? And you think you've got $1 million in that box, right? And you're getting all your hopes up, and when you eventually settle for it and you open it up, it turns out to be a 50 cent. Like,
yeah,
like
that's
to
where
me,
I'm getting that with the draft. It's like not everything is guaranteed.
No.
The failure. To be fair.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, I just think that the failure of first-round quarterbacks, like you talk about, you mentioned it, Paul, which it highlighted mostly the big reason why you kind of stumbled onto it is that the early. The quarterbacks that get drafted by teams that are in, like, say, the first 10 picks, they're usually there because they're more than a quarterback away from being a team. So, like, these teams that pick later in the draft, like when Kansas took Mahomes, that team was already on its
established.
Way up.
They had Alex Smith at the time, and
yeah, exactly. So they could let him sit for the year. Where like the early, like the teams that are picking 1 to 10, it's not just a quarterback they need. They usually need skill position players. They need defenses, pass rushers. There's a whole host of other reasons beyond just the quarterback that they need to get better. So what tends to happen is if they take their quarterback and they don't build things up quickly enough in the correct fashion, that quarterback then is just doomed. They're destined to fail.
I mean, I think you can throw it in terms of, like, it's like Paul said, like, it's like these players are good, and I know it didn't work out for the Bears, but Justin Fields wasn't that bad of a quarterback.
Yeah, that one really confused me.
Yeah, just the wrong system.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Jamie. I thought that was a weird one. I've been perfectly honest. Like, I thought Justin Fields kind of like justified himself being on the Bears. I know that, but it's the Bears though. They do some crazy stuff. I mean,
but then kind of throw that back to the Cowboys just shows how poor we can be at trading, because we gave up a 4th, and look what the Steelers give up to get to get Justin Fields.
Well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with Justin Fields.
There's nothing wrong with him at all.
I think the team has failed him as opposed to the other way around.
I agree.
Right.
But
I got an interesting comment for you, Paul, if you want to comment on this, mind. On Tyron Smith. I don't know if you've seen this. So he's just made a comment saying that it was between the Jets and the Cowboys on who he would play for this year. And he said, the way that things looked in Dallas, I knew it was most likely going to be the Jets.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is the makeup of the roster and more. He might feel that he can win with the Jets.
Or is he talking something more if you read between the lines?
No, the way I would kind of read that is the fact that it's just basically him and Zach Martin left of that, like, basically Great Wall of Dallas 2.0 essentially left. And he kind of feels like, I don't know, I wouldn't say being alienated out. Like, he's got a lot of, like, I've got friends that are friends with Tyron in Dallas. Like my friend Blake, he's a good friend of. Tyron. They'd go on holiday together and stuff like that. And he was really happy in Dallas. But I think it's just more the fact that I think it's definitely the roster thing more than anything. Why I feel a bit like, I'm trying to find the right word here, but stagnant, but feel a bit like you're the only, like, you've been there for so long, you feel like the old horse among
the old guard.
You don't want, like, why not try something new and have a fresh start? So I can understand from that perspective, and not just that. Go and get your money, Tyron. I say, like, for the amount of money he's been paid for, I do not blame him at all. Not one bit.
This is going to be like his last contract.
100%, 100%.
And not to think as well, but you've got going and blocking the blind side for Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be an Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, that's tempting in itself, and that's no disrespect to Dak. Yeah. That's just, it's how many players have moved on an offensive line, and they've had a good quarterback play from, and it's just they've had an Hall of Famer and gone. Just being able to pass protect for Tom Brady was too tempting, and that's obviously a big factor in it. Rodgers is coming back this year. Why not try and protect him?
Give you a good example. Ronald Lady went to pass protect Peyton Manning.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And here's an irony. If you remember as well, Lorne, we spoke about this. I wrote the top 3 players the Cowboys should target in free agency. And I wrote this all the way back in February. And one of the guys was Mekhi Becton. Tyron Smith goes to the Jets. Could the Cowboys be making the push the other way?
Well, there was a comment on, I believe there's a comment that Stephen Jones has made, is that, he's only interested particularly in signings like Kendricks, who was actually released by a team, because they don't count against, they don't handicap you against compensation picks as well. Yeah, exactly. So, we'll get compensation picks for Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, whatever. Yeah. But if we paid similar money for Kendricks, then you're talking about, one of those gets crossed off. This time round, we're going to get picks.
Here's an interesting fact about Kendricks. You guys are going to like this. I know you've seen the news today, but Kendricks came out and said that he decided to not sign with the San Francisco 49ers and go with Dallas, even though Dallas were offering less money.
It's the fact that he probably has that relationship with Zimmer, and he knows how to get the best out of him. That to me is a massive factor. Like go to a coach that you know and yourself you can actually play to the best of your ability, rather than go to a Shanahan team. Like, I don't know who the defensive coordinator is for San Francisco, but he may have a whole different outlook, different perspective on how to utilize him, and it might not suit his style, despite he might be getting paid more money. Like he's thinking purely football minded rather than just chasing the money. So I got to highly appreciate Kendricks of doing that. You got to. Like, and that's a good sign. Like the fact that Zimmer got one of his guys, essentially. I almost did it. I just did a Stephen Jones there. My goodness. But that's a given that Zimmer got one of his guys, a guy that he knows he can rely on. Like, he might not play like full starter like what you would expect, but him coming on board to talk to like Damone Clark, Overshawn, etc., and bring up what Zimmer is expecting out of these guys, that's a massive thing. Like, it's bringing the guy in. It's like, okay, I know I'm here, but this is what coach wants us to do, and it's going to help you guys out massively. He wants you to do this, and he wants you to do that. When it comes to coverage, he wants you to drop back 5 steps or something like that, or whatever. And when it comes to hitting the A gap, whatever. Like, that is exactly what Kendricks is going to do. He's going to be doing the whole like mentorship role as well, I believe. So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
because
like
we do have that back.
No, go.
Well, I was going to say with LVE's release and retirement, we do have that vacuum as well. That Sean Lee Sean Lee begat LVE. LVE brought on Micah Parsons. You saw during that Hard Knocks where Parsons was on it, Dan Quinn, and LVE's like, look, just relax. You've got 17 games to play this season.
Yeah.
This is preseason. Don't injure yourself. Don't waste yourself on preseason.
Coming from a guy wearing a neck brace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But shout out to the Wolf Hunter, man. I'm still truly gutted for him. I really am. But I'm just glad. I'm just glad his health is going to be intact for the rest of his life.
He got out with his health. Yeah. I mean, but here's an added thing I was going to add with the Kendricks thing and coming to Dallas is you think of the volatility of the position. Yeah. Linebacker is a very volatile position. It's short-lived. LVE, good example. And also LVE is a good example of players going to get their bag. People complain about Dak getting too much money. I go back to LVE and I go, look, it's NFL, not for long. You've got to get the money while you've got the chance. But for me with Kendricks, I think one of the added things is you think the volatility of the position, and then you give his age. Yeah, because he's getting a bit long in the tooth now, Kendricks. He goes to Zimmer, which he knows the system. He knows what is going to be asked of him and the personality. You think then, if he goes to the 49ers, how he's going to regress given the age and the volatility of the position?
That's exactly that's exactly my point, mate. That's exactly my point. It's
he comes in and that regression is just it's thinned down a little bit.
It's like this is why we like when we still had Dan Quinn. This is why we wanted the likes of Earl Thomas, the likes of Bobby Wagner at the time when, because those guys would know exactly what Dan Quinn expects of them, gets the best out of them. But we missed out on those guys at the time. But it is what it is. But I'm just glad that we did bring in someone that can utilize. That's what Zimmer's trying to preach, essentially. So we're not going in completely. Oh God, I'm really slow with my analogies here today. We're basically not going in there with a blank canvas. Essentially, we've got some baseline essentially going into our defense this year. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of things we need to add. Like we do need to add more depth to linebacker, 100%. Like, because we know Zimmer likes his bigger linebackers, the more stockier guys. So we do think we need to address that some point in the draft, maybe in the 4th or 5th round, who knows? And that seems to be one of our sweet spots right now in these 4th and 5th rounds in recent years. So there could be that.
They say his leadership as well. Just the fact
absolutely.
So many young guys as well. You need a couple of veteran guys in there, don't you? And like say, I know like Mike said, he's getting a bit long in the tooth. But if you look at his stats from last year, I think 100 tackles he made last year, and he's still getting himself about a bit.
Absolutely,
and that's the perfect guy to have around. It's like you say, someone like an Overshawn who essentially is a rookie this year because he missed out obviously last year. But you've got, you know what I mean, that can bring these guys on that the Cowboys clearly think are going to be the stalwarts for that defense for 5 to 8, 10 years.
That's an interesting question. So remember when Randy Gregory was out for a season and stuff like that? Because I don't know if this has any impact at all, but Seekers with Overshawn missed out the season. Does that take into consideration of his contract? Well, he still had
no. Randy Gregory was different because he had been suspended by the league, that actually
it was a league
a stop on his contract.
Yeah,
right. Okay,
but even at that, we did. Jerry did go in and open up his notebook and write him a check and make sure that he was getting all the relevant support that he was getting, which is again why I think in some respects Jerry was a bit, there was a bit of heartbreak there when Randy Gregory said, "Screw you, I'm off to Denver," So
for a daft reason. But here's a question for you from our old friend Valenti. What are we going to do with the running game, guys? So
Trey Benson.
So you're going draft? Yeah. I mean, Benson. I did the video on Trey Benson this gone out and
Yeah, I will say though, Valente, if you get a chance to go on YouTube, look up Trey Benson from Florida State, look up his highlights. That is a guy that I think that could definitely uplift our running game 100%. Like, and I don't normally talk about running backs that much. Like, I didn't even talk about Bijan Robinson that much, but
Robinson.
I actually really do quite like Trey Benson. He's
Mm.
going to be like a late second, third rounder, but
there you go. That's the problem.
But any team could pick him up. And like you said, that is the problem. Like you're picking up, like it's the combination of need and best player available at that point of that draft. So he could be gone by then. But if that was my money, I would like to get him. There could be, and I hate to say this, when I mentioned this one word, is Michigan.
Yeah,
Blake Corum, you'll definitely get in the third round.
Yeah, so Blake Corum's another guy I do quite like. Despite, he's from Michigan. We've not had the best success of Michigan players being on our roster in the past 10 years, but Corum can do a lot of the heavy work within the running backs. So there is that consideration. So I'm not particularly worried about drafting a running back in the draft, like, because there are some running backs that can do a good shift, and it's definitely more, I would say, well, no disrespect to Deuce Vaughn, but definitely can take more of the workload and heavy duty work than Deuce Vaughn can do.
Yeah. At the same time, the pressure is on to develop this offensive line as well. So you get an offensive line that somebody can run behind. Rico Dowdle could be 1,000-yard back. You never
That's a
know.
good question. Yeah.
You see what guys like Mike Shanahan managed to do with 6th round draft picks, free agent draft picks when he was coaching Denver and all that. If you can get a system in and an offensive line in like that, you can have guys that go under the radar and suddenly become superstar backs. So
I mean, like who's the Kansas City, the Kansas City running back? Is it Pacheco? What round was he? Was he like a second rounder, third rounder?
Oh, I think he was later than that, actually.
Well, there we go. A statement case then.
5, 6. I think it was 5 or 6.
Because he's actually put their first round running back down the pecking order.
He was round 7, pick 251.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there you go. So, and Pacheco has actually been quite the standout. So, and cheers to GXL for confirming that as well on the comments, sir. But yeah, it's again, it goes back to my original point. It's getting the right player that fits your system. If the player's there available, then get them. So there could be running backs where people might have a higher graded, like, and this is the thing about grading, like, it's more of a global analysis, but that doesn't take into consideration how teams do their draft order. Like, if you know what I mean, like you've got your NFL analysts, that guy's the first round, that guy's the second round. That might be so, but does this guy actually suit particular teams? Yeah. Like for example, we're not gonna for example, if we were to draft I don't know,
Franco Jr.
Sorry? Yeah.
Franco Jr.
What about him?
I was saying, like, that wouldn't make sense for the Cowboys to draft him.
Oh yeah. That wouldn't make sense. Like, just because he's got a nice name, like the name of his father, who's a legendary running back, but he might not be the style that the attributes that might not fit the system what Mike McCarthy wants to do to get the best out of him. He might not have the, and this is where the interviews are so important, is when coaches and your backroom staff get to talk to these players and get a feel. It's like, can we actually get on, like, is the communication very back and forth, or is it stalemate? If it's stalemate, then how is that going to be coachable? So it's all those things that take into consideration. It's not just like, fine well the player is going to have all the ability to do the job, but how coachable is this player?
Mm.
So, like Pacheco and Kansas City, obviously they've obviously had the eye on him. They did the research, but they thought, you know what? I don't think many teams are actually looking at him in the same way that we are looking at him, because we can actually talk to him very upfront, and he's talking back to us, and it's good communication, and we know what he's capable of. Like it'll be the exact same for Deuce Vaughn. Like Deuce Vaughn, yeah, he had an outstanding college career for Kansas City State. Really great career. People would say, despite his size and stuff like that, why was he not drafted higher, for example? Like, a lot of people did question that. But it's all about the relationships. It's all about that as well. So I think all those things need to be also considered. So, like these guys that we've interviewed going into this draft, that's a big tell. And has there been any good positive feedback from those interviews? Then that is going to be the likely case scenario. Those might be the guys that we might be drafting.
Yeah. All right. So let's finish off with this question from you each, and then we'll close out the show. The Dallas Cowboys, they take a running back in this year's draft. Who do you want that running back to be? I'll start with you, Lon. Who do you want the running back in this year's NFL draft to be for the Dallas Cowboys?
I think Paul's nailed it. I like Benson, so
Benson.
Benson.
It's Trey Benson or Corum, I think, for me. Like, I think that would best suit to help complement that with what we've got already when you've got Dowdle and Vaughn in the rings. So it just brings that different element.
Don't forget Hunter Lipke as well. Could throw him in there.
Yeah.
Who, sorry?
Hunter Lipke.
Oh, of course. I can't forget our fullback. Yeah, I can't forget that.
Yeah. Jamie, Godfather, who would you go for, mate?
Both the names, obviously, that Paul and Lorna mentioned, but as well, just depending on how he's come back from the injury, I think you've got to throw Jonathan Brooks in there from UT.
There you go.
But I think because he's arguably the top-rated running back this year, if someone's going to draft him high, so I don't even know if the Cowboys would even get a sniff of him. But if he's gone, then yeah, either Benson or Coleman, I would not be upset with either of those two.
Either or. Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about Jonathan Brooks on next week's show because we're going to talk about round 2, round 3, and round 4 players on next week's draft show. Really start breaking into this. But hit me with it then, Jamie. I haven't heard your voice in a while, so you could do you could do tonight's promo and then we'll get out of here. Hit me with it, mate.
If you're thinking of going to watch the Cowboys in 2024, make sure you hit up our sponsors and good friends at Cowboys Experience for game tickets, stadium tours, meet and greets, and much more. We did it last year for the group tour and had an amazing time. Everyone always speaks highly of Barry and the team, so hit them up. And if you're going to do it, make sure you use the promo code on screen of UK Cowboys, because what do you get, guys, if you use that code?
You get free stuff.
Free stuff. Yes. So check that out. And check out as well the travel package. We will get an ad drawn up on this show so we can start a promo on that, but go check that out. But that is it from this week. We will be back on Tuesday with the Project Prospect show, looking at certain particular types of prospects in this year's draft, go into them a little bit deeply, and then we'll be back, as I say, next week on the same time, 9 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Central. We will be here, but that is it from us. Have a great weekend, stay safe, and although I started off the show with the first word, these guys all get the last word. And we will see you on the other side, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yep, have a great weekend, guys. I'm taking a couple of weeks off to recharge the batteries, so I'll see you when I get back. And have a great time.
And thanks for tuning in, guys and gals. Stay safe, enjoy the rest of the week, and go Cowboys.
As usual, Dallas forever, Philly for never. Let's go.